Raise your hand if you have a brother. Now, keep that hand raised if you have never fought with that brother. Fighting with your brothers is a very common thing. It's like what brothers do best. It's almost like it's in their blood. This is a picture of me and my brother, Ryan. Me and Ryan are not like normal brothers. We don't fit the mold very well because we have never fought. In fact, he's the one that was still raising his hand at that question. People tend to not believe me when I say this fact, so I reached out to my dad, and he found a letter that he wrote about me and my brother, and this is a quote from that. He said, "As far as we can remember, they have never fought. It is always met with skepticism when we say this, but it is true." I also reached out to my brother to see if he could remember a time when we had fought. He simply replied, "No." I'm hoping that through the testimony of 3, you will believe my claim, as I really have no other way to prove it to you. What I can do is tell you why I think we've never fought and how it can apply to you today. The first reason why I think my brother and I have never fought is actually teamwork. This is a picture of me and my brother in Little League. I was probably about 5 in this picture. We played baseball together for years, and we always had so much fun together. We were never that good, but we won occasionally, and it didn't really matter if we won or lost to us because either way, we went and got ice cream afterwards, and that was what was important. See, I found when Ryan aged out of the program, because we were 2.5 years apart, and my mom somehow managed to get us on the same team. So we played together for all those years. And when he aged out of the program, I realized that I did not like baseball. I liked playing baseball with Ryan. So I quit, and I have not played baseball since. The other way that we have found teamwork has been through video games. We played Battlefront 2 together growing up. We played Minecraft. We'd always build our houses next to each other and share resources between the 2 of us. And we would play Call of Duty. We'd have capture the flag, and one of us would stay back and defend the base while the other went and got the other team's flag. Every time that we played a game, it was cooperative. We didn't like playing against one another. We much preferred to be on the same team because we found that we were just a lot better that way. And it was so much more fun. We even played single-player games together, which sounds like an oxymoron, as it's meant for one player. But what we would do is switch off who had the controller every time one of us died or beat a level. That way, we got to play about the same amount of time. What we found is that when Ryan could not beat a level or a challenge, I could. And when I couldn't beat it, he could. And that's because me and Ryan have almost the exact opposite strengths and weaknesses. Looking at our personalities on paper, you would probably assume that we hated each other because we really don't have anything in common. My brother is a very logical thinker, while I'm more abstract. Ryan likes to be behind the scenes, while I prefer the stage. I like to be in the spotlight. A little self-centered. He's a more humble guy. This picture was taken after a choir concert my sophomore year. It's a very old picture. I do not look like that anymore, I'm aware. I spent the night up on the stage singing my heart out, while Ryan, dressed in black, was up in the booth running the sound and the lights. We were doing very different, seemingly unrelated things, yet we were still working together with both of our strengths going towards the common objective of giving the audience a good show. I became the right-hand man of the choir director when it came to leading the choir students, and Ryan became the right-hand man of the choir director when it came to everything technical. See, that is another strength that Ryan has that I did not get an ounce of in our family genes. Ryan is very good with computers. I cannot tell you what a motherboard is. But Ryan can do almost anything with code. And he can fix just about any problem you have with your computer. In fact, his computer teachers ask him for help when their code does not work. Ryan's latest project is something that he calls PIMS, the Price Inventory Management System. This is something that will allow him to see everything he owns, take stock of it, and see where it is in his house, from his phone, tablet, laptop. If once he can log on, he can see it. So he can be in the grocery store and see, oh, I'm out of toilet paper. It's incredible. I have no idea how he did it. But what he could not do is make the icons for PIMS. He makes and fixes computers, while I tend to use and break them. So he contacted me because I have quite a bit of experience in graphic design. And he said, hey, can you make these icons for me? And I'm like, heck yeah, I can. And so after using both of our strengths together, PIMS now looks like this. Now, don't get me wrong, I make it sound like we had equal share in this, but I pretty much just made the flower. Me and Ryan work together in just about everything that we can do. But how does this apply to you, especially if you don't have a sibling or a brother, or you do, but you fought all the time? So Ryan and I did not like competition, as you can see, as we've played cooperative games, played on the same baseball team, and our strengths were so different that we were never really competing with one another. There was no point in saying, I'm better on stage, because he doesn't go on stage. It's pointless. Instead, we chose cooperation. We chose compromise. Ryan is my older brother by 2.5 years, meaning that he had every inherent right to pick on me, to belittle me, and to tease me. But he did not. I'm a very lucky man because of that. What he did do was recognize my strengths, recognize that they were different than his. And so, whenever I might start something that could become a conflict, he'd take a step back and he'd analyze it and shift it away from conflict. He'd turn it into a compromise. When I walked up to him as a little kid and said, hey, can I play that one-player game with you? Can I play? It's my turn. He's like, let's take turns. Most brothers would probably just say, go away, I'm playing, it's my turn. I'm the older brother. Baseball, we could have argued about who is better, the pitcher or the batter. It doesn't matter. We were on the same team. There's no point in arguing it. So, conflict styles are how we managed to never fight. In a study published in the American journal Family Therapy, it was found that conflict styles used in adolescence often corresponded to similar conflict styles being used in adult romantic relationships. Or in other words, the way that you conflicted and fought with your siblings growing up is very likely to translate to how you will conflict with your future spouse. Seeing as how me and Ryan have never fought, that has me pretty optimistic about my future wife. But what does it mean for you? What does it mean for your future spouse? Have you been competitive with your siblings? Or have you been more compromising? Has there been harmony? If you're feeling right now that maybe there could be a little bit more harmony between you and your siblings or a close friend, then I encourage you to reach out and make that change. It's never too late to change what is a rocky relationship into something unbreakable. Odds are that they would like that very much too. As I said, Brian had every inherent right to pick on me. But as far as I can remember, he has always shown me kindness. When I was 6 years old, he invited me to go with some of his friends to have a snowball fight. And one of his friends thought that it'd be a good idea to pick on me, the little kid, because I was the easy target. So he threw an ice ball at my face. And of course, I went to the ground crying. Ryan did not hesitate. He was right there by my side. And he got up in the guy's face. He told him to back off. He took me home, away from the bully. Ryan is my hero. Everything that I know, I've learned from watching his example. I've learned that competition is such a breeding ground for hostility that it is so much better in the end to avoid it. Now, sometimes competition can be very good. If we didn't have the somewhat competition between the two of us of who could get more points in a video game, then we'd probably never improve in the video game. But what was important is that we never let the competition consume us. It wasn't about being better than each other. It was about being better together. You can be the Ryan to your siblings or to your friends. You can be their role model. As you look at things that could be conflicts, as you look for that and recognize it, you can turn it around, turn it into a compromise. Sometimes you do have to stand your ground, but other times it's okay to take a step back and let them have this one. As you work to compromise in your relationships, instead of compete, you will see them grow to points that you never thought they could grow to. So I implore you to follow Ryan's example, because that's just what I'm doing too. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Braden. Next up, we have Tanner Grant. He was born and raised in Rexburg, Idaho. He is 25 years old, and he has been married for 3 years as of tomorrow. He loves watching the NBA Warriors basketball, and he also loves mashed and roast potatoes. And his speech is called Down Syndrome, Living Life a Little Different. So give it up for Tanner.
This is Kendall. He was born when I was about 3 years old, and he's my brother. At the time, I didn't know what Down syndrome was. I didn't know how it would affect the rest of my life. All I knew is that I had a new little brother and that I was supposed to take care of him. Later on, my mom let me and my family know that Kendall's life would probably be a little bit different, but that was okay. We were his family. We were there to make sure he was safe and happy. Now, I tell you that my family takes that pretty seriously, making sure that he's taken care of. I want to share with you a quote from the Dalai Lama. When we feel love and kindness towards others, not only makes others feel loved and cared for, but it helps us also to develop inner happiness and peace. Through all of the love and effort shown, all of the attempts to help Kendall learn, my family seemed to miss what was happening to ourselves. We were helping him learn, but Kendall was doing all the teaching. From the very beginning, me and Kendall have always been best buds, but he'd probably tell you that his sister Carly's one of his favorite people. We'd hang out at grandma's house. We would go ice skating in our backyard. And occasionally, we would go for runs. Now, I don't go running very often anymore, but when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I had the ability to go and help him with his first mile run in PE. And I honestly couldn't tell you how well that went. I don't know how fast we ran, but I do remember how excited he was that I was there to help him. And I remembered his big smile at the end of it. So Kendall is the reason that I know pretty much every song in Donny Osmond's Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. He's the reason that I've seen Cars when it released probably 6,000 times. And he's the reason I can sing Gangnam Style by Psy, even though I don't speak Korean. But he's also the reason that I am the man who I am today. I owe that to him. Recently, Kendall has taken up sending text messages to me throughout my day. So he'll send me, "How's my boy?" or "When do I get to come over to your house next?" And then one of my favorites, he says, "When you come over, bring Nintendo Switch." But one of my favorite texts that he'll send always occurs when I'm stressed out, when I'm working on homework and he knows it, or I'm writing a speech for this class, and he just sends, "I love you." I want to do an activity with you. If you would all get out your cell phones real quick, just open them up. And I want you to think of somebody in your life that needs an "I love you." Now, I wouldn't recommend it to be your ex, But I want you to think about somebody that's really important to you. And I just want you to take the next 30 seconds and send out a text. Let them know that you love them. So I want to talk a little bit about what Down syndrome is. Down syndrome, according to the Mayo Clinic, is a genetic disorder caused when abnormal cell division results in an extra full or partial copy of chromosome 21. This extra genetic material causes developmental changes and physical features of Down syndrome. I want to give you a few statistics. CDC shows that Down syndrome is the most common chromosomal disorder. Each year, about 6,000 babies are born with Down syndrome. That's about 1 in every 700 babies born. And according to Stanford's Children's Health, the older you get, the more likely you are to have a baby with Down syndrome. So when you're 25 years old, it's about a 1 in 1,250 chance. When you're 40, it's about a 1 in 100 chance. So I want to talk to you about another example in my life that has Down syndrome, and his name is Josh. Josh is my brother-in-law, and he loves Madison Bobcats, no matter what it is, and he really loves watching NBA Bulls basketball. I've convinced him recently that the Golden State Warriors aren't too bad either. But the first time that I ever really met Josh, I was going to meet my wife's family for probably the first time. So you know how those situations are. You show up, you're really stressed, you're nervous, you want to impress everybody, and they think I'm really weird, so it's just kind of awkward. And a couple minutes after Josh learned my name, he walked up to me and he said, "Tanner, what's up, buddy? Sing the national anthem." What? Sing the national anthem. Okay, I'll sing the national anthem with you. So he hands me his karaoke microphone. He gets the rest of my wife's family to stand up, and we all sing every word of the national anthem together. Josh knew that I was really stressed out. He knew that it was kind of an awkward situation. And even though he barely knew me, he wanted to make sure that I was okay. And that's a lesson that I can always take away from him. This next example, her name is Megan. I don't know Megan in real life, but she is really inspiring to me. 31 years old, she went to school in Lexington, Kentucky, where she graduated high school, and she decided that her dream was to go get a bachelor's degree. So she went on, she got an associate's in education, and then she got her bachelor's degree in liberal arts. Her spare time, she loves to swim with her Special Olympics team, and now she works full-time at that same elementary school where she started her education. This next example, his name is Chris. I don't know Chris in real life either, but his is one of the most inspiring stories that I've ever heard. Chris wants to do a full Ironman without any exceptions just because he has Down syndrome. For those of you that don't know what an Ironman is, it's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, followed by a full marathon of 26.2 miles. One of Chris's, he has 3 dreams other than finishing an Ironman. Those dreams are owning a house, owning a car, and marrying a smoking hot blonde from Chicago. Chris and his dad knew that he wouldn't be able to complete this Ironman if he just jumped in and did it by himself. I don't think I could do that. I don't think there's a lot of people in this world that could just go in and do an Ironman. So they worked together and created a goal. And this goal was 1%. 1% every day, you get better, and you put in 1% more effort every day. Chris had 10 months to train for his Ironman, and I want to show you just a little bit of a clip from his biking section.
Right, everybody, show what you got. We always say in an Ironman, it's not 3 events, there's 4 events. There's always an additional item that shows up on these races, and you never know what that will be.
Everything is going as planned until about 20 miles into the ride.
Is there any bothering your feet?
That's when one of those unforeseen moments, the feared 4th event, happens when Chris steps on a hill of fire ants during a nutrition stop.
Oh, what's better? He had literally hundreds of ant bites. When the race was over, there was so much poison in his ankle that he had boils this big. 1, 2, 3, go. Pedal, pedal, pedal.
Then, about 50 miles into the ride, Chris begins to accelerate on a steep descent.
On your brakes. So I yelled out, Chris, slow down. And he heard me, and at the same time, he grabbed his right brake, he hit a bump, and he went into a skid. I could hear him make contact with the ground. I'm thinking, oh my God, this cannot be the end of this race. This is not how the story ends. Chris is standing up, literally going, Dan, I crashed my bike. I crashed my bike. And he's all excited. He's got a huge smile on his face.
Really makes you an Iron Man.
Iron Man. You stop it. Stop it. You stop it. You're going to be crazy. I need a hug.
On November 7th, 21 years old, Chris finished his Ironman with a total time of 16 hours, 46 minutes, and 9 seconds, beating the disqualification time for an Ironman of 17 hours by just 14 minutes. Chris truly is an Ironman. My little brother, Kendall, has taught me how to love, how to show love to others. My brother-in-law, Josh, has taught me that you need to take care of people, even if it's a little awkward. And Megan and Chris have taught me that no matter how hard it is, you should strive to achieve your goals because there are people along the way that want to help you. Life can be incredibly challenging even without people looking at you with the expectation of failure. These people, these kids, these men and women have taken the challenge of moving through life with Down syndrome and pushed forward with a smile and a love for life that I still haven't been able to find for myself. When given the chance to live life to the fullest, they take that and they push forward and fight with a permanent determination to succeed. Kendall, Josh, Megan, and Chris all have incredible families that support them and love them in their goals. They want them to accomplish those goals. That's an opportunity that some kids with Down syndrome don't have. And that's why the National Down Syndrome Society envisions a world in which all people with Down syndrome have the opportunity to enhance their quality of life, realize their life aspirations, and become valued members of welcoming communities. Whether or not you know somebody with Down syndrome, whether or not you have a friend or a family member, if you ever have the opportunity to meet somebody with Down syndrome, I would encourage you to take that. And while you're there showing them love, while you're caring for them and trying to help them learn, you might just realize that they're in your life for a purpose. That purpose is to teach you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tanner. So next up we have Angelle Erickson. She is from St. George. She is an upcoming senior, and she is studying visual communications. She loves to rock climb and run, and her speech is called "It's Not What You Wear, It's How You Wear It." Give it up for Angelle.
Thank you. Is it set? You're walking down the hallway at your university, and someone stops you and says, "Oh my gosh, I love your shirt." Or, "Bro, sick shoes, where'd you get them from?" At one point or another, we have all given a compliment to someone because of what they were wearing. Now, by a raise of hands, how many of you have given a compliment to someone because of what they were wearing? See, again, at one point or another, we have all given a compliment to someone because of what they were wearing. Now, my question to you, is it what they were wearing or how they were wearing it? Let me illustrate a couple of examples of what I mean exactly by that. We'll start off first with a classic Patagonia t-shirt. Patagonia, as most of you know, is an outdoor brand that makes outdoor wear and outdoor equipment based off of one mission statement and focus goal: to protect and sustain the environment in which we live. And now the shirt can go two ways. The first way, for its intended and targeted audience, a classic granola man, mountain man, granola woman, however you will. Someone who believes in the same message and focus as Patagonia. Someone who believes in protecting and sustaining the environment. And by wearing their clothing or using their equipment, They show those around them what they believe in as well, the same core message to preserve Mother Nature in the activities that they participate in. The second way that this shirt can go is with the classic frat boy, a bro, someone who wears it because of its label, its logo, its heavy price tag that it comes with, not necessarily because they believe in the same mission statement that Patagonia produces, but society tells us that the more money we spend on something, the cooler we are. The second example that I would like to illustrate is with a classic French beret, made for the culture of people who come from France. And this can also go two ways. The first being that someone who wears this hat, they indicate where they come from, that they're from France. They signify to those around them what their culture is. And the second way that this can go is for the classic Pinterest girl. Someone who wears it because it's in trend or it's aesthetically pleasing and it's up to date with all the styles. And by wearing it, they're showing who they are as a person, that they're artistic or that they enjoy the arts and film. And all of these messages and illustrations go to show it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it. This is a line or a self-mantra that I came up with in high school, because for me, clothing and fashion has been a way for me to express myself, who I am as a person, by not necessarily saying anything, but showing those around me what my traits, qualities, or even personality is. And with communication, I've been able to say who I am as a person. And speaking of communication, a study done by Dr. Rahim, he speaks about communication. And in this study, he concluded that only 7% of our communication is verbal. 55% of our communication that we convey to others is body language. And it's important to know exactly what body language is. Body language is how we respond or behave or react based off of how someone's communicating to us. So wouldn't you think that the very clothes that we put on our body affects the way that we feel and think and act towards others? And Dr. Matthew Hudson says exactly this. He says, what you wear can influence your thinking levels and negotiating skills, and even hormone levels and heart rate. The very shoes, shirts, and pants that we put on our body affect the things that we think and the way that we feel. Our clothing physiologically impacts us more than we think, and ultimately affecting the way that we communicate with others. It's not what you wear, it's how you wear it. A prime example of this is fashion icon Rihanna. Rihanna is known for her high fashion, her beauty brand, and the ability to take anything she wants and make it her own. This meme depicts exactly that. I've always found this so amusing. It's ugly until Rihanna decides it's not. On the left, we have a picture of a woman who is in a couture dress valued at thousands of dollars. And initially, people hated this dress. And it's very apparent as to why. It's frumpy, it's outdated, it's not in trend, and it's way overly priced for how unflattering it is. But Rihanna took it, she made it her own, and she rocked it. Now, most people may argue that it's because of her status, her fame, and her wealth that she's able to do something like this. But I disagree. I believe that there are three things that Rihanna has that we can all have in order to take anything we want and make it our own, especially in what we wear. The first, confidence. In our society, we are often taught that self-confidence and self-esteem go hand in hand. But we are often misled that in order to have a higher self-esteem, we first must have a higher self-confidence. And okay, and this isn't true. Our self-esteem is our ability to value or worth our skills, our attributes, and the qualities that we possess. When we value these at a higher rate, our self-esteem increases. And when our self-esteem increases, our self-confidence also increases as well. Second, the ability to love and enjoy life. Charles Spurgeon puts this greatly. It's not how much we have, but how much we enjoy that makes happiness. It's not how much we have or what we have or the value of what we have that other people tell us, but how much we enjoy what we have. I could have a $5 t-shirt that I thrifted from the middle of nowhere and value that so much greater than a $100 handbag that I got from Europe. Why? It's because of the value I give it. That gives me the meaning of that object. Third and last, passion. Passion is the why behind everything that we do, behind the choices that we make, the decisions that we make, how we treat others, and the day-to-day choices that we make throughout our lives. I want you to think about the last time you did something because you knew beforehand it was going to make you happy, not because of what your friends or family members told you, what their opinions were, or what the media said, or the news said was in, or was out, or what was good, or what was bad. But you did this thing because you knew it was going to make you happy. Now think about those emotions and those feelings and those thoughts and take them with you the next time you go to your closet to pick out what you're going to wear for the day. Look at your shoes, your shirts, and your pants, and choose something that's going to make you truly happy by wearing it. Not because of the brand or the label or the logo it has or the heavy price tag that it may or may not have come with, but wear it because it will increase your confidence. It will increase your ability to enjoy and love life. And it will increase your ability to express passion to those around you. It's not what you wear, it's how you wear it.
All right, thank you so much, Angelle. So our last two speakers are actually going to be on Zoom. They are not here in Rexburg, but it's going to be really cool. So they're going to be up here on the projector and they're going to be sharing their screens. So our next speaker is Miranda Siebolt. She was born and raised in Harrisville, Utah, living with her mom, dad, and 3 sisters. She currently lives in North Ogden with her amazing husband, Austin, who she has been enjoying her married life with for 5 years now. Sorry. Together, they're expecting their first child. Miranda works for Stewart Title. She is presently taking classes online through BYU-Idaho and is working on her marriage and family studies degree. About 6 years ago, she returned from the Texas Lubbock mission, where she was able to serve the great people there. Miranda enjoys teaching paddleboarding and anything with her husband. So give it up for Miranda.
See. I have a lot of sisters, and because of that, I had the opportunity to watch a lot of Disney princess movies. And while watching those movies, I noticed that there was a common theme. And this theme was that the princesses and princes met, they fell in love, and then they lived happily ever after. And so naturally, that's how I thought love and marriage was supposed to be. I thought that you would meet this handsome guy, you would fall in love.
Miranda,
And, oh, yes?
just a second. We're just getting your audio going. Ready to go. Just a second.
Okay. And if, can I have permission to share my screen as well?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Right. We ready?
Perfect. Okay. So I have a lot of sisters, and because of that, I watched a lot of Disney princess movies. And I noticed that there was a common theme among the princess movies. First, the princess and the prince would meet, they would fall in love, and then they would live happily ever after, the end. And so naturally, I thought that that is how love and marriage and relationships were supposed to be. I call this the Cinderella Effect, where you meet someone, you fall in love, and you ride away blissfully into the sunset and live happily ever after. Unfortunately, that is only in a fairy tale. That is not real life. In real life, there is a lot more to relationships than just meeting someone, falling in love, and getting married. So today I'm actually going to talk about one of those aspects, and it's actually a foundational aspect of a relationship, and it's getting to know someone. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, thank you, Captain Obvious. It's obvious we need to get to know someone, but you would be surprised how often this getting to know you step is often overlooked and happens, and it doesn't happen before the relationship is developed and before physical contact like kissing and holding hands and different things like that are introduced into the relationship. Now, I live in Utah, and there seems to be this unspoken rule. It's called the third date rule. And how it goes is you go on your first date, and if it goes well, you go on your second date, and if it goes really well, you go on your third date. And it's the anticipated third date where you're going to finally get the kiss that you've been waiting for only 3 dates. And then you have your DTR, or you determine the relationship. The problem with this is that these people are getting into relationships where they hardly even know each other. They may have texted a little bit and talked on the phone and maybe hung out a couple of times, but they really haven't taken the time to get to know each other. So how long is long enough? Dr. John Van Epp, in the book, How to Avoid Falling in Love with the Jerk, actually talks about this. And the magic number is 3, but it's not 3 dates, it's 3 months. It takes about 3 months for someone's true colors to come out. Before then, we're trying to put our best foot forward. We're trying to impress the person we're dating, their friends and their family. And then it's about 3 months into getting to know someone, that is when their patterns start to show in their old habits and things like that. And I'm not saying that all flaws are deal breakers, but it takes about 3 months to see those deal breakers or those red flags. So I have this friend, her name is Camilla, and Camilla is amazing. She is kind, she is beautiful, she is smart, she's the whole package. And she seemed to have a problem with getting to know people before she entered into a relationship and started kissing and having that physical contact. So time and time again, Camilla was meeting these boys, she was kissing them, and then all of a sudden they'd be like, whoa, this is not what I signed up for. And then they would leave. So after the probably 5th time of this happening, Camilla felt really discouraged and was wondering what she was doing wrong. And then Ryan came into the picture. Ryan was this knight in shining armor. He was kind, he was caring, he wanted to spend every second of every day with Camilla. He was nice to her friends and family. He even introduced Camilla to all of his friends, and he just seemed like the real deal until 3 months hit. And 3 months, his true colors came out, and they were not pretty. They were deal breakers. He was selfish, he was not kind, and he actually started flirting with other girls in front of Camilla. Now, because Camilla and Ryan had been kissing and were in this relationship, it was a lot harder for Camilla to get out of the relationship. Luckily, she did, but if they would have taken the time to just get to know each other before they started a relationship, it would have been a lot easier to leave. So why is it so hard to wait those 3 months? The key word is chemistry. Chemistry isn't all that bad. You need it in a relationship, but oftentimes chemistry can blind us to truth, and it can make us feel like we need to rush into these relationships. I like to think of it as these little tiny glasses like this, where we're only seeing from a tiny little lens and we're not seeing the whole picture. Where when we do not let chemistry overwhelm our emotions and what we're trying to see, we're able to look at relationships through these big glasses, through these lenses. And when we do, we can see the whole picture. We can see if there's going to be red flags from this person. And so when we're getting to know someone, we need to be looking at them through these lenses. So I have this video. It is from The Office. And this is Michael Scott. He is the Dunder Mifflin branch president, or branch manager. And he and Carol have been dating, they've only gone on a couple dates. And prior to this episode, he actually proposed to Carol. And she did say no, but this is kind of the follow-up episode.
What is this?
That is my Christmas card. It's a picture of you and me and your kids on a ski trip, having a blast. Season's greetings.
No, see, we never went on a ski trip.
I know.
I went on a ski trip
Right.
2 years ago with my kids and my ex-husband.
Yes, but what you didn't realize at the time was that I was with you, in a sense. I was in your heart
Michael,
and next to your kids. What?
this is so weird.
I don't understand.
It's a bold move to Photoshop yourself into a picture with your girlfriend and her kids on a ski trip with their real father. But then again, Michael's a bold guy. Is bold the right word?
I think you're a really sweet guy,
Okay.
but I don't know how to deal with this thing and the proposal, and I don't think things are gonna work out with
No.
us.
Okay.
So if I was Carol, I would be leaving as well. It was apparent that there were a lot of red flags. Michael has zero communication skills, zero self-awareness. It's very apparent that he doesn't catch on to social cues or anything like that. And unfortunately, Michael's heart was broken after this, and it could have been avoided if him and Carol would have taken the time to get to know each other before they jumped into a relationship. So I'm now going to show you a math equation. And you're probably sitting here thinking, this is not math class. I did not sign up for this. And then to make it worse, it's letters instead of numbers. But I promise you that this math equation is something that you'll want to remember because it is super helpful. And it's I equals T plus T plus T. And that's intimacy equals talk plus togetherness plus time. So we live in a world where there is a lot of online dating. And I'm not saying online dating is bad at all, but during this online dating, you do a lot of talking. And so you get this sense of getting to know someone because you're texting, you're instant messaging, you're talking. And so you really feel like, oh, I really know this person. But the problem is you're missing most of the equation, which is the togetherness and time. And so talking to someone is important, but you also need to spend time together. You need to go on dates. You need to have diversified experiences. See that person that you're dating in different circumstances and how they handle these different situations. So you can really get to know them in that way. And then time. Take the time to get to know someone. There is no reason that why you need to rush into a relationship. Take the time, spend time together and talk so that you can really get to know each other and then hopefully progress that relationship into a marriage. Now, not every relationship where you start getting to know someone is going to end in marriage. And obviously you get to know someone even more as you continue dating and as you get married. But it's a great foundation and a great habit to get into to really take the time before you introduce the physical contact of kissing or holding hands or different things like that. And before you make a commitment to get into that relationship, get to know that person so that as you do, you have that strong foundation so that when you do find that person, you will already have that foundation of knowing who they are. Thank you.
Are urban homesteaders and love all things DIY, being outdoors, hiking, skateboarding, and archery. She also loves cooking and baking from scratch. Without further ado, please give it up for Catrina Frederick.
Americans today are facing many challenges daily. 51% of American adults have a chronic health condition. The top conditions are diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. 1 in 3 American children suffer from food scarcity. And to bring that into perspective, that means that 34 American children are missing out on at least one meal a day. That is 3 million more children than the entire population of the state of Florida. 1 in 4 American adults have a diagnosable mental health condition. These top conditions are depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. And what this means is that every single one of us knows someone or is someone struggling with one of these issues. What if I told you I had a solution that could greatly reduce and potentially eliminate some of the struggles Americans are facing today? And it doesn't require large sums of money or government grants or even anything complicated. The answer is more simple than you think and closer than you know. The answer is right in our backyards, and it is to bring back the home garden. It is no secret that fresh, homegrown food tastes better than anything you can buy in the grocery store. If you have ever been fortunate enough to bite into a perfectly ripe, sun-warmed tomato on a gorgeous summer day, you know this to be the case. This is largely due to the fact that nutrient depletion begins as soon as crops are harvested. And what this means is the longer it takes for your food to go from the farm to your dinner plate, the greater the opportunity for nutrient depletion to occur. For example, green beans can lose up to 77% of their vitamin C after a 7-day period in the refrigerator in perfect storage at perfect temperatures. It is really common practice for corporate agriculture to harvest all crops early. And this is for two main reasons. The first one is to reduce bruising during harvesting and transport, and the other is to really extend that shelf life. And what that means is those fresh tomatoes you're buying at the grocery store can be harvested up to 6 weeks early before they are made available to purchase by consumers. Due to the nature of corporate agriculture, it simply cannot compete with homegrown food. While their practices yield a visually perfect tomato, it also results in a watery, tasteless, mealy tomato. And the difference in taste and texture between store-bought and homegrown has been known to make even the most picky eaters fresh fruit and veggie lovers. Now, if delicious, nutritious food isn't enough, gardening has so much more to offer. In fact, there have been hundreds of studies done on the mental and physical effects of our well-being on gardening. In 2011, PubMed released a multi-year study in which they found that gardening greatly decreases depression. For this study, they had individuals come in and do a pre-mental health screening. They asked them to practice gardening for a 12-week period. At the end of this period, the same screening was given again. And not only was depression reduced, but mental health was improved across the board. And the lifted mood was carried on for long after this initial 12-week period. And it gets even better. According to the CDC, gardening is exercise. And this is great news if you hate going to the gym. Plus, your sweat session on the treadmill does not yield the results of a delicious meal on your dinner plate. Now, the activity level of gardening can range from light stretching to vigorous, depending on the chore that you are participating in. And it has been shown that practicing gardening regularly can help to offset obesity. Additionally, gardening has been shown to boost self-esteem. This is because when you take a tiny little seed, put it in the soil, nurture it, and watch it grow to become food you can harvest and place on the table for you and your loved ones, you receive a feeling that is indescribable. And through this process of becoming a producer instead of a consumer, you have increased self-confidence, and this self-confidence will transfer to many other areas of your life. Now, over the last 80 years, the way Americans put food on the dinner table has changed a lot. In 1944, 40% of all produce consumed by Americans was grown in victory gardens. Victory gardens were backyard gardens put in by Americans during the First and Second World War to help offset food shortages. Now, if you fast forward to today, the vast majority of our produce is no longer grown in backyards. In fact, it is not even grown in US soil. It is reported that annually 31% of vegetables and 53% of fruits are imported from overseas into America. And as time moves on, our diets move further and further away from nutrient-dense fresh foods and more towards foods that are packaged, processed, offer convenience, and then are supplemented with vitamins. 77% of American adults take a daily vitamin. This is in stark contrast to the 12% that get the recommended daily servings of fruits and the minuscule little sliver, 9%, that get the recommended daily servings of vegetables. And you may be wondering how I can know all this is true. And that's because back in March of 2020, my family and I put in our very first garden. In fact, all of these pictures you've been seeing, with the exception of the store-bought tomatoes, are from our garden. And we now grow 80% of all the produce we consume in our home. And during this time, our garden has taught us a lot about life, food, and the joy that can be found from getting your hands dirty and growing some real delicious food. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. That's great, but I don't have the time to grow my own food. I don't have the space. I have a black thumb, but I'm here to tell you none of that is true. No matter who you are or what your circumstances, whether you live in a studio apartment with one sunny window or on an expansive acreage in the country, you absolutely can grow some of your own food. Now, some of my favorite small space options include tower gardens. These come in many different versions. Some of them are soil-based, some are aquaponic or aeroponic, but what they all have in common is they have multiple stacking layers with lots of pockets that allow you to grow hundreds of pounds of food annually in a 3 to 4 square foot space, which is pretty rad if you are in a more urban situation like my family is. Our next favorite small option are microgreens. Microgreens require very little space, about 10 by 20 inches, and you also need to have a medium for your seeds, potting mix, or cocoa core. And in 7 to 14 days, you will have fresh greens to add to sandwiches, salads, sprinkle on your omelet. We have yet to find something that microgreens are not delicious on, and several days a week, we have microgreens with every single meal. Now, my next favorite small space option is for those of us who think we have a black thumb. And I say that because I am a reformed person with a black thumb. And that is to have herbs by your kitchen sink. This is a fantastic option because most of the time, if you have a black thumb, it is because you forget to water your plants and then they die. By keeping them by your kitchen sink, you will see them many times a day when you're in your kitchen. You'll remember to water them. And fresh herbs are delicious in pasta, on top of pizza, in soups, and they are going to spice up your meals in a way you can't even imagine. Now, my final small space option that I want to share with you are sprouts in a quart jar. This is the simplest method. It has the least amount of investment in space and time. All you need is a jar, some seeds, and water, and in 7 days, you are going to produce food in your home that you can add to your meals. I have a very strong belief that if individuals and families can move towards growing their own food, if we can return to the garden and connect with what we are consuming and become producers again, it can heal our bodies, it can heal our minds, and it can help to heal our culture. And you do not need to go out and grow everything, but I strongly encourage you to get out there and grow just one thing. Try something, and you may indeed find once you do grow something, you will want to grow everything. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're going to bring our speakers back out. So Braden, Tanner, and Angelle, you guys can come back out here. Just behind the stage. All right, so if we could just give them one more round of applause.
What's that? No,
All right, thank you guys so much for coming. Don't forget to look into TEDx, which is happening next semester, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.